Hi, everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Talk here at laughingplace.com. It's October 15th. I'm your host, Rebekah Mosley, co-founder of laughingplace.com, and with me is our editorial director of Star Wars content, Mike Celestino. Hey, Mike, it's been a while.
Hi, yeah, good to see you again, and glad to be back doing the show with you. It should be fun.
I'm super excited. Look, I brought something back from Orlando.
Is that the popcorn bucket?
Yeah, it's the popcorn bucket. I finally own one myself. It can
Nice.
go along with my Rise
Oh,
of
that's cool.
Skywalker, so now I can have my own little popcorn bucket battles.
Yeah, that Millennium Falcon popcorn bucket was one of those things where I was like, I have so many Millennium Falcons in my apartment and so many popcorn buckets, and I don't need any more. I don't need this specific one, so I passed on that one. But it's
Well,
it's very cool.
in our case, we were about to enter a posted 65-minute wait for Runaway Railway, so I thought, it'll amuse my son for $12 worth of entertainment while we wait. And I was right.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, there's been a lot going on while I've been playing over in Orlando, and I guess we should start with the MetaVerse panel.
Yeah, so New York Comic Con put on this. It's kind of like a virtual convention called MetaVerse, where they did a lot of the panels. I'm sure they would have probably done in the real convention if they had had it. Obviously, this year kind of sidelined all that kind of stuff. But there were a few Star Wars related panels. Most of them were from Lucasfilm Publishing, so it was from like the books and comics side of things. They did a preview of the High Republic, which is the big multi-platform initiative coming in January. Um, and that one, it wasn't a tremendous amount of new information. This is the overview one, but there should be
Oh,
one for
sorry.
the
Hold
High
up the other one.
Republic.
This is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, this is the High
Okay.
Republic one here. So they
Sorry
got
about
all
that.
the authors who are contributing to the High Republic. Some of them are writing books, some of them are writing comics, and they did give some new details about different characters. Like one of the nifty things that people were excited about was the Wookiee Jedi has a lightsaber made out of wood, like from the trees of his home planet, Kashyyyk. Um, so that was kind of neat. Oh, somebody's trying to call me. Uh, but nothing huge coming out of any of these panels really. That was kind of one of the disappointments for me of Metaverse is that there weren't any big announcements. They did announce in this High Republic panel that the next wave, the second wave of High Republic books and comics would be written mostly by these same authors, but they're like all kind of switching around their roles.
Mhm.
So like the guys writing comics are going to be writing books next time and stuff like that.
Gotcha. I was trying to pull up for you the other images. So give me just 1 second here, Mike. Like
Sure.
because they had some. I saw some of the other. These were new to me, and were these have these been out previously? Because these images, some of these were new to me. The Star Wars High Republic cover art.
Yeah, these came out back in the spring when they first
Oops.
announced the initiative. Those covers have
Okay.
been around since then. Yeah.
Very cool.
Those are the first few books. The Charles Soule one is going to be the first one that launches the story. That one's called The Light of the Jedi, and then the Claudia Gray one that you were just on is Into the Dark. So that's the second book in the series.
Now, in the other panel that I think is what we're going to move on to next, there was a lot of discussion of the actual some of the character personalities and such by if I'm correct. Am I remembering that correctly, Mike?
Of the High Republic.
Yeah.
I think they mostly kept that to the one that was specific to the High Republic, but I could be misremembering. The Lucasfilm like overview panel was kind of about everything else coming up outside of the High Republic, unless I'm like completely mistaken. But they just talked about some other. The thing that they were really highlighting was this. It's called the Jedi Mind, and it's like a mindfulness like meditation guide using like the Jedi and the Force as. There it is. By it's written by Amy Ratcliffe, friend of the Who's the Bossk podcast, and big contributor over at StarWars.com, and she's actually writing a bunch of Star Wars books now, and she's over at Nerdist as the one of the editors over there. So
Yes.
that's pretty cool.
Also on the panel was hey. Here, let me try and pull that picture up for you. There we go.
Yeah, so that's Kristen Baver at the bottom. She hosts the weekly This Week in Star Wars video news show on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. Oh, Phil Stozak there. I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, and I apologize for that. Phil Sostak. He's doing the art of the Mandalorian, which is super exciting because we've seen a lot of that artwork in the end credits of the show. They put a lot of the concept art over the end credits on Disney Plus, but this will be a collection of all that stuff and probably a bunch more that we haven't seen of the development of all the characters and stuff. Although he did say like the turnaround on a lot of these designs for the Mandalorian was much faster than you would have for a Star Wars movie because the movies are developed over years, and the show they had to make it pretty fty, I guess. So like they would come up with a concept and present it to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and they would either pretty much be good with it right away or suggest little changes and stuff. But they said like it was pretty quick as far as like turnaround went. There's also an Art of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge book coming out in the spring, also by Amy Ratcliffe. So that one I'm pretty excited for too.
Cool. I have the Art of Mandalorian book right here to pull up for you, and I'm trying to hit the right button. I'm not having any luck today.
That's okay.
There it is, I hope. Hang on just a moment. And there's the Art of Mandalorian book.
Yeah.
One of the images that they discussed during the panel was this concept image that will appear in the book, and just the image of the young main character being saved as his home planet is under attack, and just a really emotional piece. And I'm excited to discover more about the series development through this book. There's a lot of pictures available of the interior over at Amazon, and it's some really, really gorgeous stuff. So
yeah, I'm really excited to learn more about. I mean, the Disney Gallery series on Disney Plus was fantastic, but I just find the development and production of The Mandalorian specifically to be very interesting. So finding out more about that will be great. But also the Art of Galaxy's Edge book too is really appealing to me because, I really want to know more about the process that went into developing that land. And I know that at certain points it was going to be set during a different time period in Star Wars in the overall timeline and stuff. So hopefully they have a bunch more of that art in there that we haven't seen previously. Because Amy Ratcliffe was talking about how she got to interview a bunch of the Imagineers and how it was like a dream come true for her.
These are some of the other images that I found over at Amazon.com where they're showcasing the book's interior.
Cool.
And this title arrives on, let's see, it's coming when, Mike?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know the Galaxy's Edge one is in the spring.
April 27th for the Galaxy's Edge title, definitely. Another one that caught my eye during the conversations was the one by Katie Cook. It's called the Galactic Storybook.
Right. Katie Cook has written a few children's books in the Star Wars, targeted more at younger kids. And what was the Galactic Storybook now? That's not ringing any bells. I remember like the Ooze and the weird like monsters book, but I don't remember the Galactic Storybook.
The Galactic Storybook was specifically like highlights from the Skywalker saga.
Okay.
And then she was taking specific moments in time from the Skywalker saga and adding her unique characterizations and kind of bringing those moments to life via her artwork. Here, let me show you how she brought the
Oh, right. Yeah, she did talk about how this was one of her favorite scenes to illustrate and delve into. But yeah, I think this is all kind of part of Lucasfilm's continued efforts to get like much younger kids into Star Wars.
And as you said, another title that she's working on is the Star Wars Book of Monsters, Ooze, and Slime. And in it, they're going to explore. She was talking during the panel. She discussed learning what Mon calamari eat.
Yeah.
And the viscosity of Rancor spittle,
right.
among other important elements of the Star Wars universe that apparently these titles are going to dive into.
Yeah, that should be fun. Fun for kids.
It seems like a lot of fun, and she herself is a mom, and so she was sharing tales of exploring the topics with her kids, actually reaching out to them and asking for their input as she was working on her title. So it seemed like quite a personal enjoyment. That's one of the things that I always appreciate is when you hear the passion from the authors themselves, and that's why things like Comic-Con are so. I'm so glad that they didn't totally disappear. That we had this access via, the virtual, the online, because it's neat to have those connections and those stories.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Is there another title you'd like to highlight specifically, Mike? I don't have.
Can you just bring up the screenshot of all the authors again? I just want to kind of go through the ones that I didn't mention yet.
Okay. Let me do that for you. Let me try it again.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you.
No. It's okay. I'm just out of practice, man. Take a week off, and I'm still got vacation brain. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about Kristen Baver, Phil Sostak, Katie Cook, Daniel Jose Older. He's writing the IDW High Republic comic book. He's also written a Star Wars novel called Last Shot a couple years ago. His comic is going to focus on Yoda during the High Republic era and what Yoda's off doing with a bunch of little like Padawan children when this tragedy strikes and he has to like take them into action, I think. Then Amy Ratcliffe's got a couple books. Zoraida Cordova. Now, what was she up? She had written a Galaxy's Edge novel last year. I'm trying to remember what she has coming out.
I'm looking, and it says it's part of that Star Wars, the Clone Wars stories of light and dark.
Okay, right. So and that's already out. Mm-hmm. I already reviewed that on laughingplace.com, but that's just a collection of short stories inspired by a bunch of different episodes of the Clone Wars animated series. And then Preeti Chibber, I interviewed on my podcast because she has a new kids book as well called A Jedi You Will Be. And that's just all mostly set during Luke's training on Dagobah with Yoda and kind of, again, like using that as a way to introduce kids to the concepts of the Jedi and the Force.
And she also has a story in the Clone Wars Light and Dark title that focuses on the hostage crisis episode. And she adapts that, bringing in the romance element of Annie and had.
Yeah, she said that when she got pitched the idea of the Clone Wars anthology book, her first request to Jennifer Heddle at Lucasfilm Publishing was to write an Anakin story. And I think like she said a lot of other people also wanted to write Anakin, but since she was the first one, she got to do that. So she was happy about that.
And a number of these authors also appeared in the, I'm pretty sure it's out, right? The episode, From a Certain Point of View, Empire Strikes Back title.
Not out yet. It comes out in November. I'm anxiously waiting to get my copy because I really can't wait to read that. That should be pretty.
Oh, November 10th?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Last week on this show, we went through every chapter that got announced because they announced all the concept of that book is it's 40 chapters retelling the story of The Empire Strikes Back, but from the perspective of the background and supporting characters. So they announced what each chapter, which character would be have their story told in each chapter, and it's a really exciting list. Some really like outside the box choices in there. So I'm happy that I'll get my hands on that soon and get a chance to read that.
And once again, which one of those do you remember kind of being the one that you're most eager to get your hands on?
Yeah, there's one written from the perspective of the dark side cave on Dagobah, and I was like, well, that's crazy. I can't wait to read that. And then there's one from the perspective of the space slug that almost eats the Millennium Falcon, and like it tells the history of that species and stuff. I don't know.
I got the impression that the Tauntaun was also going to be front and center among the stories as well.
There's one about a Tauntaun. There's one about the Wampa. Pretty much any minor character. Well, there's 40, so not all of them, but all the bounty hunters get stories. Wedge Antilles is supposed to have the longest story in the book, and he's a fairly minor character, I guess. There's also a Yoda, a Palpatine, so a couple of the major characters get stories as well.
And next up, Mike, we have an update on the Razor Crest, right?
Yeah, so HasLab is doing this. HasLab is kind of this subdivision of Hasbro, and they do these like experimental, larger toys for probably for adult collectors, I guess you would probably say. And right now that previously they did the Jabba the Hutt sail barge, which is enormous, but this time they're doing the Razor Crest, which is the ship from the Mandalorian, Din Djarin's ship from the Mandalorian. So they wanted first, I think the goal was 6,000 backers at first, and then after 6,000, they started adding these stretch goals that more stuff will be included with the ship if they get a certain amount of people pre-ordering it, because these are all like crowd-funded projects. So the first one was an escape pod that sits in the top of the ship and can be removed. And then the second one was actually the child in the little pram, the floating pram. So they've met those goals. That was, I think, 8,000 and 10,000. So now you'll get all that, including the ship and the Mandalorian figure that was included in like the base order. But now the next stretch goal is going to be 13,000 backers, and that will get you these carbonite blocks that you see in the first episode of The Mandalorian. And this was the one that I was waiting for, because this was the one I said I wished was the first stretch goal. So hopefully they get to 13,000 and that'll be included with the vehicle, because I think they're really cool looking.
Do you think they'll give us specific names of the carbonite individuals?
Well, some people have pointed out that these characters that look like they're frozen in carbonite here are a very deep cut reference to an issue of the original Star Wars Marvel comic book. Some gang that Han Solo goes up against in one of those issues.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
that would be fun. That would add a little extra bit of fun to it for the diehards, which is always appreciated.
Definitely. And you could see in that image on the right there how they all kind of line up in the hold of the ship, kind of how you see him like walking down and looking at all his bounties in the show.
Very cool. That'll be fun. I hope that they are able to reach this goal. I mean, they're very close to it, right? I mean,
last time I checked a couple days ago, they were at around 11,000. So I think it's till November 9th that they have. So I would guess that they'll probably make it.
They seem to be trending pretty well there.
Yeah.
And let's see. Next we have this amazing.
Yeah. Talk about upper tier, high end collectibles. This is, I forget what this one costs, but it's a lot more even than the Razor Crest, I think. But this, it's a full size replica of the puppet that they used to make the Rancor in Return of the Jedi, and it's not a puppet itself. Like, you wouldn't be able to manipulate it and make it do all the poses and stuff. It's just a statue, but it is a 1-to-1 size of the puppet that was created for the movie, and it's this version that they're selling now is autographed by Phil Tippett, who is the puppeteer, created the stop motion, or I guess go motion effects for that movie. And yeah, it just looks so detailed. I love the drool like coming out of his mouth and stuff.
There you go. This prop replica retails at $2,999, available for monthly installments of $513.
Yeah, $3,000. The Razor Crest I think was like $350. So that's the one that's slightly more affordable. But if you can't afford and don't have the space for this Rancor, which I definitely can do neither, you can also get from this company Regal Robot, a friend of Laughing Place, Regal Robot. You can get this Rancor magnet, which is just the head. It's taken from the same mold that they took of the original puppet, or I think they scanned it, actually 3D scanned it, and they just made the head into a magnet you can put on your fridge. And then you could see the size of what it looks like to your hand. And I think that's cool as like a middle ground. And that's only like $30 or something. That one is not nearly as out of my price range.
and this is joining their Beast collection, which previously had a Tauntaun.
Yeah.
And apparently the next Beast will be coming soon.
Yeah.
We don't yet know what it is.
I interviewed this guy, Tom Spina, who created this company, for my podcast. And he's a really, really nice guy, by the way. And he does all sorts of this. Not only do they do for this, for Regal Robot, they do all these prop replicas and cool like themed furniture and things. But he has another company called Tom Spina Designs where they'll do custom stuff for you no matter what you want, basically. Like, you could ask for whatever prop you saw in any movie and they would probably be able to create it for you. I'm sure it would cost a pretty penny, but
they've also previously done things like door handles from like Jabba's palace and things like this.
That's
I think
one of my
even the Emperor chair. Did they do an Emperor?
Yeah,
like,
you can get the Emperor desk chair, but the Jabba's palace thing is one of my big Star Wars collecting regrets, because I saw it at Star Wars Celebration. I think it was last year, 2019, in Chicago, and I came very close to buying it, but I didn't end up picking it up. And I didn't realize it was a convention exclusive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just like totally missed out on that. But that was another magnet, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Next up, we're moving back to periodicals and back to the world of comic books.
Yeah, I got them here. 2 comics in the last couple weeks. So we had Star Wars. No, this one's Star Wars number 7. So this is the first issue of a new arc that they started. And I think this arc is going to be focused on Leia eventually. But this issue is actually the backstory of this Commander Zara, who is a newly introduced Imperial officer. And she was basically Grand Moff Tarkin's like protege before he died in the Death Star explosion. So you get a basically like an issue-long flashback of that character's history, and we find out. I mean, she basically holds a grudge against Leia and the rebels because they killed her favorite person in the world. She looked up to Grand Moff Tarkin so much. This is her like proving herself to become Tarkin's like protege. She had to go hunt this like albino creature on I think it was Tarkin's home planet, actually. But yeah, this is pretty good. I'm pretty interested to see where this goes. And Charles Soule is the writer. Again, one of my favorite current Star Wars writers.
He is prolific currently. It's good.
Yeah, he's cranking them out. Not only does he do this comic, but he's got that novel, the High Republic novel, and he writes his own novels as well, and his own graphic novels that are not Star Wars related. I actually just picked one of those up. I saw his name on it, and I was like, yeah, sign me up. I'll read that.
Very cool.
But yeah.
Is there, a lot of times these comic books will kind of bring in knowledge of kind of smaller elements that aren't explored in the movies. What are some particular facets that maybe you gleaned from these? Not always, but sometimes. So I thought I'd ask.
I like getting to spend more time with Tarkin. Actually, I've got the novel. There's a current canon novel called Star Wars Tarkin. I have it. They gave it to me for free at a convention, but I haven't read it yet because I think is because like it just kind of fell through the cracks. But I do really want to go and read that novel, and I'm sure that a lot of the stuff they're dropping in this comic ties into the backstory that they gave him. And then this is him like training his protege basically. So I think it's cool to spend some more time with that character that we haven't seen much of since Peter Cushing played him in the original film.
And then also this week, the Darth Vader series continued.
Yeah, this issue was actually a little hard for me to read because it's basically just Emperor Palpatine like torturing Darth Vader the entire issue. And there have been complaints lately I've seen among the fan community about the level of violence in some of these recent Star Wars comics, and I wasn't really on the same page as them until this one. I was like, this is a little extreme, and it is like two villains like or one villain torturing another villain, but it still seemed like if I had read this when I was a child, I probably would have been scarred by it because basically what happens is after The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader tries to find out what really happened to Padme after the last time he saw her on Mustafar. And then the first 5 issues of this comic series is him. He goes back to Naboo. He meets up with the handmaidens. And he finds out really what happened and that she had given birth, obviously, because he knows Luke is his son now. And then in this issue, he comes back to Coruscant and goes back to the Emperor. And the Emperor has found out that basically Vader went off on his own without the Emperor's permission to explore all this stuff from his past. And the Emperor's just really not thrilled about it, I guess. And he just like immediately gets him with the Force lightning, and Vader tries to defend himself, but he's like, why are you attacking me? But then like the rest of the issue is just this barrage. Like the Emperor sends the royal guards, those red helmeted royal guards against Vader, and that guy Maz Ameda, who was like the Emperor's little lackey guy, that guy with the horns there. They're all like up against Vader, and then like I don't want to spoil too much, but he like basically takes away everything that he had given him, as far as like,
wow,
yeah, I don't know. It was disturbing and very dark, but I guess that's what you get from when you read a Darth Vader comic book. It's and he's the ultimate point of all this is he wants to have Vader kind of reclaim his power himself instead of, after Anakin Skywalker is defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar, the Emperor comes and gets him and gives him this mechanical suit and everything and the life support system. And now Palpatine is saying, like, you need to do all that on your own without my help. So the issue ends with him basically leaving him in a remote location and saying, like, you need to, without even using the Force. He won't let him use the Force because he's like, if you use the Force, I'll know. You have to use your own strength to get back to where you were, basically. I don't know. It should be interesting. And it ends with like a surprise appearance by a character who was introduced in The Rise of Skywalker, which I wasn't expecting, and that should be interesting as well, to find out a little bit more about that person. I don't want to say any more for people who haven't read it.
Is this do you see this in some ways as, okay, this could be a little controversial, as part of this kind of reshaping, I find, of the prophecy? Because, there was the prophecy of he will bring balance to the Force.
Yeah. And
then with the way that the Skywalker saga ended, it kind of felt like they were, I don't know, were they saying in essence, well, it's Rey and somehow through Anakin through Rey, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that whole mythology is being is being retooled, not as whereas with the original prequels it was pretty much, yep, it's Anakin is the one who's going to fulfill this prophecy, whereas
Yeah.
now I feel like it's more like, well, was it, is
Right.
it?
Right. I actually want to show you this since you mentioned it, but there's a panel here where Palpatine is talking. He says, "But how can this be? You were the chosen one, were you not? Destined to bring balance to the Force." And then he says, like, "But who chooses the chosen one? And why could they not choose another? You are but a tool, Lord Vader." So yeah, I think you're probably onto something there. Um,
Yeah.
it's pretty
I'm
interesting.
Oh, see, now I'm gonna have to be sure and check these out, because I found it really. It's kind of one of those things where I feel like the overall Lucasfilm's been a bit ambiguous regarding how we're supposed to now feel about
Right.
the prophecy, and the way Qui-Gon Jinn talked about it versus what we saw in this most recent
Yeah.
series of films.
And the ancillary materials like the comics and the novels really do a lot of the heavy lifting in tying together all those loose threads between the original trilogy, the prequels, and the sequel trilogy. And I think you're probably, especially because this other character shows up who we hadn't known about until Rise of Skywalker, and now he's going to be in this story, which takes place between Empire and Jedi. Um, I think you're right that they are trying to make that connection and clear that up a little bit.
And that's not an uncommon kind of way that prophecies can kind of evolve over time. I mean, you can see it within religions too, where it ends up being not the individual specifically that you think is going to do it, but maybe somebody who is similar to them generations later, but is a very similar person to that individual, who then is now considered the prophetic fulfillment in retrospect. That's one of the things that's interesting with prophecy. So I'm fascinated to see it pop up in Star Wars mythology as well. So we'll see.
I think I lost you there for a second, but can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
totally hear you. Yeah.
All right. Either
So
I dropped out or you did, but
yeah, I'm not sure either.
okay.
um, and then I guess in kind of a less torturous fashion, you've been able to dive into the world of Star Wars via EA games.
Yeah, so I finally got a chance to play. I mean, I'd say finally. It was only a week after it came out, but I did play through the single player mode on Star Wars Squadrons, the new flight simulator, battle simulator game from EA and Motive Studios. And I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It reminded me a lot of these two games I loved growing up, X-Wing and TIE Fighter, especially because you fly as both sides. And there's a lot of really cool missions, but nothing is more thrilling to me than just taking an X-Wing or an A-Wing or whatever and going up against an Imperial Star Destroyer. That to me felt like classic Star Wars. And that was actually like the last mission of the game. They like really build up well to that. And then I was like, this is awesome. I'm like taking down a Star Destroyer. That was so fun. But the controls are a little. I
The
called it a little bit
graphics
of a
on these
steep
things still
learning
amazes
curve.
me.
Yeah, it's got really great graphics. Everything looks authentic and sounds authentic. The sound effects are really great. You can. I haven't done the multiplayer yet. I don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna get the chance to do that. I'm always so hesitant to play with other people that I don't know. So maybe if I can get a couple people who I'm friends with who have the game to partner up with. Um, but you can like customize your cockpit and stuff, and they have a bunch. They have like 8 different ships total, I think, that you can fly. 4 on each side. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
It looks like a challenging. I'm not a gamer, so
Yeah.
would I? Do you? I mean, did you said there's a learning curve, but eventually you felt confident in it, yeah, relatively.
Yeah. So I played through on like the standard difficulty level, which was called Pilot. There's one below that just called Story Mode that you can. I'm imagining you're just flying and shooting, you know, but
Well,
um, and then I think there were 2 above the one that I did. But the trickiest part is remembering what all the buttons do and remembering to use them, because not only are you flying and shooting, you're also able to shift the power of the ship between the engines, the shields, and the weapons. And then you
Okay.
can also shift the shields from the forward to the aft or balance them.
Yeah.
It's just a lot going on. There's also like a targeting wheel that you have to learn, and
Wow.
yeah, it's if you're not a gamer, I don't know.
That
There were
story mode sounds good to me.
yeah. Yeah, and that's probably, I mean, I'm glad they included something like that, because it's for more casual gamers, it's probably a good way to appreciate, go through the story and see all the cutscenes and everything.
Maybe
Um,
they noticed the massive YouTube numbers on the cutscenes
right.
on for Fallen Jedi, because that's what I did for Fallen Jedi, because I'm like I say, I'm a side scroll. That's
Yeah.
it for me. Um, and so I went and found a guy who was playing through, and I spent I want to say it was like 35 hours or something, just
Right.
kind of watching him play along and watching the cutscenes, because I wanted to know the mythology that came out of the games.
Yeah, and this does have a couple like deep cut characters that pop up. Admiral Ray Sloan, who's a recent addition in the novels and stuff. So this is the first time she's ever appeared in like on-screen form. And then Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels is a character in this game, and a couple new Imperial characters and a couple new Rebel characters. We also see Wedge Antilles, who's voiced by the same actor, Dennis Lawson, who plays him in the movies. And then
That's
yes, I did find a couple missions frustrating, and then I did encounter a couple like major bugs that made me like have to restart the entire game, which kind of frustrated me because I was trying to get through it in a weekend so I could write the review, and then it just like added a couple hours onto my gameplay. But overall, it worked pretty well, and it was pretty fun.
another neat thing about gaming in this era versus when I was more apt to be gaming. What is their ability to give you new content? There's nothing to say that there won't be, kind of those add-on packs or, more fun little things that you can either earn or purchase over time.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see kind of what becomes of Squadrons. And I'm interested to hear about your team adventures once you finally dive
Yeah.
into a multiplayer.
Yeah, we'll see. The other good thing about the game is it's only $40, so as opposed to the $60 price tag, 65, whatever you usually play. So I think they saw that the single player mode is maybe like 10 hours roughly, and then you got multiplayer battles and stuff. But other than that, there's not much to the game. It's pretty like straightforward. So 40 bucks is pretty good value, I think.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I agree. Nice entry price for someone like me who's a bit intimidated as to whether or not I would do. I'd take that gamble.
Yeah.
That gamble. And lastly, as far as big headlines for this week, I think is the cast announcement for the upcoming Lego holiday special. Oh, hey, didn't mean to get rid of you there, Mike.
That's okay. Yeah, so when they first announced this special, they said that some of the voice actors would be cast members from the movies and stuff. So now we've actually found out a few of the names that are coming to join this special, and one of them is Kelly Marie Tran from The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, reprising her role as Rose Tico. Then Billy D. Williams coming back as Lando Calrissian again, and Anthony Daniels, who I think refuses to let anyone else play C-3PO. So,
And
and
it's
then
coming Life Day, right? Tuesday, November 17th.
yep, just about a month from now, that'll be fun. And then it
And
says a few of the Clone Wars actors will be featured: Matt Lanter, Tom Kane, James Arnold Taylor, D. Bradley Baker.
yep. And according to the little write-up, they say it's going to reunite Rey, Finn, Poe, Chewie, Rose, and the droids for a joyous feast of Life Day. So, any chance they mention or at least give us a glimpse of Batu to kind of, do that little bit of
Oh, will we
gruff?
see Batu? That's an interesting question. I don't know, but I'm sure. I'm sure we'll get a lot of references, at least to the original Star Wars Holiday Special. I think they've said we might see Chewbacca's family and maybe some of the denizens of B. Arthur's cantina and stuff. So it should be pretty fun and funny, as these Lego animations tend to be.
I very much have enjoyed these Lego retellings of the Star Wars saga. So I am excited to see how they handle the holiday. I wonder if we'll see any of those unusual what are they? The unusual holiday toys that are coming, that those are like the Hasbro figures, but I wonder if we'll see odd takes on, like stormtroopers in ugly Christmas sweaters.
Oh,
And
right. Well, Lego was doing that before Hasbro was doing
right?
it, so I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
So, in fact, Lego Ideas right now it has a contest where they're inviting fans to show off their holiday-inspired Lego Star Wars displays, and the prizes for first, second, and third are really amazing. So
Oh.
go check out Lego Ideas. It's some pretty amazing prizes that they're offering over there, like that Mos Eisley Cantina and other items, including some I got the impression that some of them are ones that aren't even still in production. So it's like a couple of older Star Wars sets that perhaps you'd have to pay quite the penny on the secondary market are among the prizes. So lots of fun over there.
Nice.
Yep, Lego Ideas. So Mike, what you got this week on Who's the Bossk?
This week I wanted to talk about Star Wars Squadrons, actually, so I invited a fellow Star Wars podcaster, and we're just gonna we'll do the 5 Star Wars questions as usual, and then we'll talk about Star Wars Squadrons for a bit. It's kind of a low key episode. I think I was scrambling to find a guest who had played Squadrons and was willing to come on the show. So I did manage to do that. We're going to be recording this afternoon at 4 p.m. and that'll go up tomorrow morning.
And this is now number what for
30,
you?
34 this week.
34. So if you haven't been following Mike's Who's the Bossk podcast, you have many, many hours of wonderful Star Wars content that you can catch up on. So be sure and look for his Who's the Bossk wherever you would be gathering your podcast. And then you can bookmark our Star Wars content. Mike is our editorial content director here at Laughing Place, and he does an excellent job of keeping you up to date on the publications, the product, the movies, you name it, Star Wars that's coming out. And Mike and our Laughing Place news desk will strive to make sure that you are in the know and don't miss out. And each week we bring the highlights of that information to you. So like and subscribe to our stream. You'll know what's going on.
2 weeks from midnight tonight is the Mandalorian season premiere, season 2. So there'll be a lot to talk about coming up.
So are you getting ready to do a rewatch? I was thinking about that. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do a rewatch kind of leading up to it or not.
We did rewatch it in the spring, but I should probably watch it again before the new season starts. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that, and honestly, my schedule got such that I did not end up with watching that amazing behind the scenes series that they did. So I was thinking I definitely wanna watch that before the next season. I am so excited for the return of the Mandalorian and discovering more about the hooded figure that we saw, and I don't know. It's just I'm interested to see how they surprise me this year, because I still, that episode with almost no dialogue is still just so amazing to me that they even tried that. I love it. So I'm excited to see what kind of cinematic freedom and creativity we get to experience again this year with The Mandalorian.
Agreed. I'm very excited myself.
Well, as always, it's been fun catching up with you on what's been happening in the world of Star Wars. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.